Okay, we need to talk about the state of Helldivers 2. Okay.
Let's talk about the current state and potential future of Helldivers 2.
Ooh.
I don't need to tell anybody watching this that the community has recently schismed right down the middle.
Yes,
Today's
I am part of this schism, but I haven't really played Helldivers in like a couple days. So, like ever since that update came out where they nerfed the railgun, I just haven't really played. Mostly because I'm just waiting for my boys to jump on and play, and I think I go to bed a little too early. But I mean, yeah, like I'm not fucking booting this game up to play solo or to play and to just do a quick play. Fuck that. Those people are idiots, dude.
conversation isn't so much about who's right and who's
The game was hard enough to quick play when the railgun was good. Now you want me to play with sticks and stones? No thanks.
wrong, but simply a step back macro take on the entire situation and what it could bode for Helldivers 2 in the future. For a few brief weeks, it seemed like Arrowhead caught lightning in a bottle with Helldivers 2's quirky mix of satire, fun repetitive combat loop, and cooperative community building. It seemed like it broke through the broader culture.
Bro, when I first saw Helldivers 2, and I saw the gameplay and all the little dudes just like spouting off like Starship Troopers lines and shit like that, and it's like, I thought it was funny. It's like, okay, there's like, I don't have to worry about any DEI shit. It's just like, it's just gameplay, and that's it. Rinse and repeat. There's like some random enemies, and there's difficulties, and all this shit in there. And I was like, oh, let's check this out.
Cultural divide.
And it was $40, so that was nice. But I got hoodwinked into buying it in the first week because I saw some of my buddies playing it, and it went against my better judgment. It went against my, like I said, my better judgment in that I usually don't get games in the first week because they're infested with bugs. Well, because they get like software bugs, really. And it just simply never works. But, you know, I fell into the peer pressure and I just bought the game.
And brought people together for a moment, which is certainly more than one can expect from a video game. As a result, the game caught on like wildfire, completely blowing away the devs' expectations and leading to the now infamous server login and matchmaking issues which plagued the game's first week.
This was cancer. This was so bad. It was either this or a black screen or you are in the queue. And yeah, bro, I was in the queue longer than I was in game. So because of that, I got the game on Steam, and with Steam, they're just so fucking stupid with their refunds. Like, oh, if you played the game for more than 2 hours, you can't refund it. It's like, motherfucker, I didn't even play the game. I've been in fucking the queue for 2 hours, idiots. But nope, didn't refund it.
Despite that, people's complaints were drowned out by the sheer awesomeness of the gameplay experience. People would queue up for hours just for the chance to enter the bridge of their galactic super destroyer and deploy on some hellhole on the fringes of the galaxy to help spread democracy. By some sheer stroke of luck, the game's launch balance was good enough to make it extremely fun and engaging at low levels, with squads of friends laughing manically as they pop juicy bugs all over their screen with their MGs. The game...
Oh yeah, like, I'll say levels, I don't know, like 1 to 10, and then maybe like 10 to 15. Like 1 to 10 was pretty enjoyable because you're playing on like the easiest difficulties. Like, yeah, you could probably push a little bit, but I wasn't playing on anything hard. I think I did a couple matches. Well, actually, I didn't play any match by myself because I'm like, I actually did play like 2 matches by myself and extracted, but I was like, okay, this is it. I'm just killing the same couple enemies. I'm like, this is stupid by yourself. It's like one of those games where it's like, it's fantastic with friends and okay by yourself. So because of that, like, I'm not playing this fucking game solo. I don't got the patience for it.
scaled reasonably well to the higher difficulties too, as people worked out
Yeah.
various loadouts to deal with the increasing challenges that brought.
Yeah, this is pre railgun nerf and like little shield nerf.
Ironically, it was some of the more broken weapons in the game which made this serviceable.
Yeah.
So, as a result, you could play the mid difficulties with whatever loadouts you and your squad found fun, while you could run the top 3 difficulties with the emerging meta, as people will call it.
The emerging meta. Oh yeah. And then, you know, this game just went through the entire life cycle of what gamers do to every video game, in that, you know, whenever they make content, they figure out what's good, they make a video about what's good, and they'll tell you, hey, guys, I did this shit on Helldive difficulty. I use these guns. You should use these guns because they're so good, and so on and so forth. So that's just what people are naturally going to do. You can't really stop it. Your game is not a special snowflake. It's going to happen to every game, multiplayer and single player even, which is hilarious. But yeah.
Recently, of course, this changed, but this isn't a discussion about whether the balancing was right or wrong. It's a discussion about what very difficult decisions Arrowhead will need to make in the coming weeks to decide what sort of long-term community they want to foster. See, the community can broadly be broken down into 2 groups. There are the people who enjoyed the launch balance and stomping bugs with their friends with a reasonably challenging endgame, which could be overcome if someone used certain loadouts or cheesed the game's mechanics. Then,
what was the cheesy mechanics? Me and my boys, so when I hit level 20, I played the game for like 1 session, you know, like about like somewhere between like about 4 or 5 hours. Or wait, not even that, because like in that session, I think I remember I played the game for like 2 hours, and then I got to level 20, and then I unlocked the railgun, and then I used it for like a couple more matches, and then I got off, and then the day after, maybe a day or 2 after, everyone is bitch mode complaining about the like next update for the game, and it's like, what? They nerfed the railgun? I just fucking unlocked this thing.
there are the people who believe that the game in its launch state was too easy and it needs to be rebalanced in order to make the upper difficulties a torturous affair fit.
That is so fucking stupid. Like, what? Like, when I was playing with like me and my friends, it's like we were all like, in the beginning before level 20, we were all like kind of struggling, but we were getting most of the missions done, mainly because we were playing with like one other friend that was above level 20 because he just played the shit out of the game, and we relied on like his weapons to kill all like the heavy fucking armor enemies and shit. And me and my other buddies were just like along for the ride, just killing out all the little dudes with whatever our favorite gun was at the time. But yeah, that's pretty much how we did it.
Only for the elite few to attempt. I'm somewhere between. As someone who played 90s tournament shooters in their heyday, I recall 1 month of training just to learn the movement and routes in tribes, much less how much longer it took to spin fuse to someone in midair as you're both traveling 400 kph. Not to mention sub-specializing in light flag capture, medium engagement, or heavy base defense or artillery support roles. Those games were extremely difficult, but fair, and that was the key. The player can't feel like the game is unfairly trying to screw them around every corner. In Helldivers 1...
Yeah. I mean, I didn't play Helldivers 1 or whatever. It definitely feels like that. When I only played like the railgun for like 1 match. Or not 1 match, but like a couple. And then the day after, the day, 2 days after, they just nerfed the shit out of it. And I was just like, okay. That's fucking stupid. You know what my knee-jerk thought was? Why are you trying to balance a game around PvE? What the fuck are we doing? That was my knee-jerk thought. I'm like, why? This is like a casual thing I'm just doing with my friends. And it's like, what?
I can easily see how the developers could have catered solely to the hardcore community. It was a narrowly focused tactical
But what is hardcore community? The solo people that are playing on Helldive, is that hardcore? Like, I don't know. Or is it hardcore to play on like Helldive difficulty and use the worst weapons and still come out on top? Like, what is hardcore? That's kind of confusing to me because last time I checked, nobody has ever played with the worst equipment a game has to offer unless they have already dumped thousands of hours into a game to prove that they're like the best player. Like, that's simply, it just doesn't happen. Like, yeah, if you look at like some Dark Souls games, like you'll find some runs with like, I completed the game no hit with like a little tiny sword or some shit. I did this game. I did a whole run through of Elden Ring with no gear and just like this one weapon or whatever. Like, yeah, that's fucking hardcore and pretty cool. But that is such a niche of a niche of a niche of like a sliver of the pie. Most people don't play like that. Most people are gonna look up guides and look up what the easiest weapons are to like go get to like the highest difficulty. That's what they're gonna do.
horde shooter with a tight-knit community of mostly diehards. Yet, come Helldivers 2, their intention was to create a persistent live service game, which means cultivating a much broader community base and keeping them engaged far longer. Their launch clearly knocked this out of the park, pulling in
Well, a little bit, you know, with the whole 1 week of you can't fucking log in.
people who'd never even heard of the Helldivers series for the prior decade.
That's me.
So now that they're sitting on this powder keg of players, they essentially have to work out internally who they want this game to appeal to.
Yeah.
If they make it progressively more hardcore and reliant upon perfect squad plays, they'll naturally alienate an increasing portion of the player base.
Yep.
Most people can't exactly conjure up a squad of 3 other people at will, all of whom have had time to keep up with the current meta strategies and
True. Ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody. I mean, I know Arrowhead has their own little statistics telling them what everybody is using. I know that. So that statement is probably wrong. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not playing the game solo. I'm not fucking quick playing with anybody because for the most part, it's been a bad experience. Like with just randoms, it's whatever to me.
loadouts for each race and mission type so that they have a chance at difficulty 7 and above. And herein lies the issue. Certain things like super samples are locked off to those difficulties, so it means that even your casual players are
The super samples, I think that's the pink one, right? You can only get this in what, difficulty 7, 8, 9 to like upgrade your ship or whatever. So like I think, what was it? Difficulties 6, 5, and 4. You get the this one. Or wait, did I say that right? 7, 8, 9, 6, 5, 4. You get the orange one. Along with like the green ones or whatever. And then, you know, difficulty 1, 2, 3. You get like only these. The next chunk you get both of those, and then the next chunk you get all 3 of these.
forced into trying their hand there eventually, even if they otherwise don't want to. Currently, the game exists in a sort of no man's land, where neither side feels adequately represented enough to be happy. Arrowhead have to tweak their difficulty levels to segregate these player bases while still keeping them united in spirit. This means
How do they tweak the difficulty levels? I think I saw like some video or whatever. Maybe they changed it. The amount of enemies that spawn in on a map for any given mission does not change based on how many players there are. I'm not sure if that's correct, but that's just what I heard. Maybe I'm wrong. But that kind of seems to be true. Because the few times that I did do like solo, I did it like once or twice on like the easier difficulties, and then another time just to see if the experience would change at the higher difficulties. And yeah, I mean, there were multiple Bio Titans spawning, multiple tanks spawning, multiple what do you call it? Hulks spawning, multiple chargers spawning, and by multiple I mean like anywhere from like 1 to 5 on the screen running at me. It's like, what are we doing?
Means no cheese tactics or broken meta in high difficulties, while at the same time not making players get stomped by endless reinforcement loops on mid difficulties. Going back to my tribes analogy, people are okay with games being hard, so long as they're fair.
Yeah, I'm okay with games being hard, so long as you give me the tools to like solve the problem.
We've seen this with the recent explosion in the Souls-like genre. And this is where I'll give you my take, as both an entrepreneur understanding the company's ongoing issues and desire to scale, while being an avid player of the game at the same time. I profoundly don't believe the current key issues with Helldivers 2 are to do with any sort of weapon balancing or meta. They're to do with the core gameplay loop, incentive structures, and spawn rates and methods. What do I mean? Well, let's analyze your typical difficulty 9 Helldive. I've done several...
I haven't done any Helldive, maybe I've done like 1 or 2 and I just haven't been paying attention to the difficulty. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done like a Helldive one. I think I've done a bunch of 7s, a couple 8s. I don't know if I've done a 9 or not.
Several of these successfully, and after it I went back to almost exclusively cruising at difficulty 7. Why? Because the higher the game scales, the progressively less fun it becomes.
Oh?
Now, this isn't to do with your weapons suddenly becoming ineffective.
No,
the enemy health pools and your damage don't scale inversely as the difficulty rises. It's because of gameplay incentives. Let's break it down from first principles.
Oh shit.
Helldivers 2 is a tactical co-op horde shooter which occasionally spawns heavy units that use quasi-puzzle rock, scissors, paper mechanics in order to take out. That's cool.
Rock, scissors, paper. Rock, paper, scissors. Okay. So for the heavy armor weapons, or the heavy armor enemies, what do we got? We got on the bug side, we got no, not gugs, bugs. We got the bile titans. We got chargers. What else? Bugs, chargers. Those little like the green spewers, is that heavy armor or medium armor on their backs and heads? I don't remember. What else? And then for like the bots, what do you got for heavy armor? You got the tanks and the hulks. So what else? There's like the walkers, but I think that's like medium armor on their front shield thing. So for the bile titan, how do you kill bile titans for the most part? You used to just be able to do a railgun shot to their head and they would die. Chargers, it would take 3 railgun like 2 or 3 railgun shots to their leg, break the armor off, and then a little bit more damage to deal some more damage to them, essentially to like just destroy them. Or for the chargers, you could like kind of just do like a little loop around them, put a railgun shot into their like underbelly side, and then they would start to bleed, and you just run away from them and they'll eventually die. This is harder to do when there are multiples of these on the screen. But I did always find it weird that bile titans were easier to kill than chargers. So yeah. Tanks. Where is the weak spot on the tank? It's on the backside of the tank. And was it like a couple railgun shots to that like little orange part, like the exhaust vents or whatever? You can down it. You destroy the Hulk essentially the same way. You got to maneuver around it, shoot its like little vents or whatever. And yeah, because if you want to try to deal direct damage to these things with like explosives or whatever, it takes too long. And again, there are multiples of these on the screen running at you, not just one. I don't think anybody was having an issue with just dealing with like one of these, because when you have one of these things on the screen, there's a bunch of other little guys surrounding them and like just running at you. So I think that's like a fine little game loop right there. You have like one big guy and some other little dudes. That's fine.
That's the basis for a great gameplay loop. It can be said that the
Yeah.
combat is not only the highlight of Helldivers 2, but the operative point of it. If you strip away the combat, you end up with a sprinting simulator as players run from objective to objective,
Yep.
keying in codes and watching bars slowly fill up. The issue with the highest difficulties is that they mandate avoiding combat, which I
Yeah.
reiterate is the most fun aspect of the game.
Yeah, so like I said, I never played difficulty 9, but just with like doing 7s and 8s, it was kind of hard to do, like, get the entire map done, you know, closing all the holes of the factories, doing all the blue objectives, finding them and whatnot, trying to find all the little samples for everything, really. Yeah, it already started to feel like running simulator. So I've never done a 9. I would only assume if you're doing Helldive 9, you're not really farming for greens or orange. You're only farming for pinks. So you just run around, look for those little like rocks with like the lightning, or not lightning, but like those white streaks in them, and then look around and then pick those up, and then you run to the extraction point, and then that's where you dump all your little stratagems and whatnot to just get out of there and just collect the pinks, essentially.
Your goal in the highest difficulties is to avoid patrols religiously, and if you absolutely must assault a position, to shut it down before reinforcements are summoned. Now, this is absolutely fine for a squad-based tactical stealth game, but the problem is that Helldivers stealth mechanics aren't robust enough to support this.
Ooh.
What do I mean? Well, countless times I've assaulted a position with my squad, shut down all foot soldier units, only for a reinforcement flare to get fired from 200 meters away because...
Oh, damn. 200 meters away? 200? Dang. Why aren't we going to talk about those random ass laser towers that you can't see through the fog and the rain and whatever, through the trees and the fog? And did I mention fog? The random ass laser towers that are shooting you 200 meters through all of that shit, and there's literally zero counterplay. You just have to eat a death. Like, how is that fun?
Somehow we pulled aggro from behind a mountain. Combined with that the game currently pops in patrols almost randomly, often on top of squads, and you have a recipe for frustration. Now, this is the point at which the more banal arguments like the nauseating "get good, scrub" start popping up, and I hate this.
Bro, the people that are saying get good are literally carried by like their one friend that is high level and has done this for fucking ever.
Not because I have something to prove by playing a game, but because it's fundamentally excusing broken gameplay mechanics. And I want to see Helldivers become better, not worse.
Yeah.
There is nothing that kills.
Yeah, I want like new enemies, maybe like a new faction. I think this game was fun for my time playing it, when I like climbing up through like level 1, I got to level 10, I got to level 15, and then eventually 20. I unlocked the railgun, and then all of a sudden, oh my god, I can actually deal with like 5 chargers coming at me. I can deal with the 3 Bile Titans coming at me. I can deal with like the little stealth bros. It's like extremely easy. And not just that, you got to dispatch all that shit because these little dudes can not one shot you, but hey, they can push you into the dirt real quick if you're not like constantly moving.
Kills a suspension of disbelief more than looking down your scope at the battlefield to see a squad literally pop in out of thin air. Not out of a dropship, not out of a bug breach, but literally just the game world f you to the player. See, if the enemies in the mission have persistent spawn points, you can at least look over the battlefield and craft an assault strategy with your squad. But if the game suddenly spawns patrols all around you as you're preparing to assault a position, it puts the players into an unjustly compromised position. This, in and of itself, might still be manageable if it wasn't for what comes next. Once players pull aggro, it begins a massive reinforcement loop, as aggro is pulled from all over the map and units are dropped on top of them.
Oh shit, that's crazy. So like, here's paint. Oh. Okay. This is the entire map. I don't know how large like the player aggro radius is for whatever reason, but it seems, and this is just from my experience of playing, if this is the entire map, and like you got like a little dude there, obviously it's not to scale, that there's like a like an invisible circle that the player is just around. And in this circle, this is just what it seems like. There can be like a patrol, maybe they're going like that way. There will be like a patrol maybe coming like directly at you. Maybe there'll be like a patrol like going down this side. And if you're skilled enough, you can like, you as a player, like walk this way, wait for the patrol to like get out of the way. And then maybe you like get right behind them, then you keep going and all that shit. But there's still this like random circle of shit that's going to happen to you, of like patrols. And it's always there. You can't see it. But this is just, I don't know what it is. And probably out here, there's like nothing happening. Like, unless there's like a bug, like lair spawning bugs, or like a factory spawning robots, or a random laser tower that is just outside ready to destroy you, you know? Pew. That's just what it seems like. And unless you have that little stealth armor to like reduce your like visibility or whatever, it's kind of hard to play stealth, if not impossible, without that armor.
Now, this also would be manageable if the current spawn rates didn't cause several heavy units to be spawned on that squad simultaneously. The current state of the game limits stratagem use. There are often long cooldowns and severe modifiers on difficulty 9 missions. You may be fighting with one stratagem slot locked off. Your cooldowns may take twice as long. Your call-ins may take twice as long. Hell, it might even scramble the code, so you're having to enter the code half a dozen times before it...
And even the stratagems were meta the fuck out of, because like, from my knowledge, you would run a railgun, energy packback, you would run the regular Eagle Strike or whatever, like the first one that you get, and you would run some stratagem, either like the global like railgun or the laser, to deal with like huge enemies. Seldom would you run like anything else once you unlock those things. Yeah, I mean, that's just my experience with it, and even my like friends played that way too.
It pulls the correct stratagem. Add on top of this, the recent environmental modifiers might be causing asteroids to land all around the team, all of which are capable of one-shotting anything.
Oh.
And this...
Oh, so I haven't played since this update that they have asteroids that can one-shot you. Where's the counterplay to that? How do you deal with that? Just run energy backpack anytime you get onto one of these planets with that? Because you know gamers don't look up. And when you put shit that is up above their, you know, field of view, they're probably not going to see it. I'm not going to run around the map like constantly looking up to see if I can see an asteroid coming at me.
While you're being swarmed by tanks and hulks or chargers and titans, it's fundamentally not fun because it's not fair. Too much is left up to random chance. So I would argue that it's not the challenge that people are responding to negatively, but the lack of perceived fairness. The playstyle currently required to do full clears of difficulty 9 dives is about as exciting as watching paint dry, because it's entirely predicated on avoiding combat, despawning enemy groups, or otherwise cheesing.
Avoiding combat and cheesing mechanics. I bet that's what the devs intended for, to play, like how players, you know? I bet that's how they wanted players to play at difficulty 9. Cheesing combat, or avoiding combat and cheesing mechanics. Jesus.
The mechanics by having one team pull aggro while another sneaks the objectives, since reinforcements can only happen at one place. So we loop back to the idea that the issue isn't weapon balance, but gameplay incentive.
Bro, I didn't even know that was the meta. You have one guy running like light armor and probably like that stim fucking little skill on the light armor that makes it so like stims last like a couple seconds longer, and then that's like the tank, and then you have him run like an energy backpack. And anytime there's a breach or bug holes, You get that one guy in there to corral everything. Then you do the Congo line back out of there, and then you just have like your teammates in there collect all the samples, and then just rinse and repeat. Then the next guy runs the same like loadout. You have him go first, and this like this other dude with the Congo line, he's just doing like a Congo line to regroup. You know, you're not necessarily gonna deal with the enemies. Maybe you will. I didn't even know that was the meta.
Incentives. Continuing to work from first principles, how can this then be mediated to the satisfaction of the entire player base? Well, the easiest thing would of course be to balance spawn rates of heavy units in proportion to the nerfs affecting players at any given time.
Dang.
On a personal level, I don't mind if you bring down hell on me, as long as you give me the tools to fight back,
Yeah.
even if it is from within an inch of my life.
Honestly, it felt really cool to kill like a shitload of chargers and a shitload of Bile Titans. The bug commando bro or commander dude that summoned all the little dudes. The little green spewers. It felt really cool to face like a bunch of hard ass enemies all at once, because it gives you that feeling of that you're in an actual war. Now, I don't know exactly what they planned on doing or plan on doing with like the heavy enemy spawn rates, but like if what are you gonna do? Spawn like what, 1 or 2 chargers and like 1 or 2 Bile Titans? Like what are you gonna do? Like just sprinkle everything evenly distributed across the map? Well, that's not fun. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know because I haven't played on like difficulty 9, and I don't know. I did a couple of 8s, but 8s were pretty challenging, I think. But they weren't. It wasn't impossible with the railgun. As long as you could aim and reload pretty quick, you could do it. But you know, I would also say that most people find it difficult to aim. I mean, because like this game was on console, and it's on PC. If you play M&K on PC, then you get no aim assist, and I don't even know how much aim assist is on console or whatever. It's like I don't even care about fucking the aim assist and shit. It's like that is so far from like worries in this game. It's like your worries turn into not the other players having like aim assist or not, which is like my experience in a lot of other shooters. But it's like, my teammates, are they the right level? Did they unlock the right shit? Did they unlock the shit that they're supposed to kill all like the really hard enemies? Because if they didn't, then it's like, well, what are we doing? Are we playing running simulator, or are we playing like Helldivers? You know, where you kill bugs, you kill robots. I don't know.
The second would be to create some kind of incentive for engaging in combat, such as menial rewards for every enemy dispatched. This would give people a reason to...
Oh yeah, I think it was stupid that... I don't know if this is actually how it worked, but like on those defend missions, like the robot defend ones, where you just load up on turrets and you just start chucking them. At the end of the match, it shows that everybody had like less than 10 kills when you have all the turrets do all the work. I'm like, why the fuck is that? Because you're not getting the kills. Your turrets are getting the kills. Well, who called the turrets in? I did. So I should be getting those kills. All right. So that doesn't even work like intuitively. And also, it doesn't make sense how a Bile Titan, a Charger, a Hulk, a tank still only count as 1 on the game, on the end game screen, like stats. Like if you want to pad your end game stats with like kills, just like run around and let enemies spawn and just kill all the little guys. Don't even bother with the big guys, because they're not even like a good use of your stratagems if you want to just like flex kills. So that's like kind of weird to me.
To actively engage in the most fun part of the game. The third, and perhaps most disrupting to the current state of the game, would be to change how patrol spawns are handled and stop dynamically spawning patrols all over the mission area. This is a huge one for me, because there is nothing more immersion breaking than literally seeing a patrol pop in on top of the squad with no warning. This messes with the pacing of the game, which is best kept as moments of regrouping, strategizing, and traveling quietly, punctuated by moments of sheer hellish warfare and destruction. The constant pop-ins create an environment where the player is constantly on edge, and the ability to pace oneself is almost non-existent. This presently even affects lower difficulties because the way patrols spawn and pop in is largely the same. The solutions, in my mind, are clear and can be leveraged to make the vast majority of the player base happy to some degree, but the trick is going to be the execution. Arrowhead likely lacked the amount of staff needed to adequately do the playtesting and iteration required to nail this balancing, so we're very likely.
Because, what was it? To my knowledge, aren't there only like 4 dudes, like game engineers or whatever, like working on this shit? That's crazy, dude. I mean, I gotta give him props for like just making the game and eventually bringing it up to like playable standards with just 4 dudes, with how complex the game is. Like, that's pretty cool, and should be like celebrated with how like easy it is to make video games. But the fine tuning is and just the sheer amount of like things that they have to do is I don't know, it may be daunting, it seems. So maybe we'll get the changes, but maybe it won't be in a timely fashion.
Likely going to see this balancing ping-pong game swing drastically one way than the other for quite some time. I have no doubt that this is still going to prompt an avalanche of just get good or go back to playing Warframe comments, but I really hope to have a healthier...
The people were spamming that comment, get good or go back to Warframe? What? That's so stupid. Oh my god.
More nuanced conversation about how this game can placate its player base and retain them for the long haul. I won't ask what your thoughts are, because undoubtedly you'll tell me anyway. I'll just say, keep it civil, and bear in mind that the people that you're insulting will one day be the diver in the trench next to you. Let's remember that this...
I mean, not necessarily if I even play the game again.
This is a co-op game, and what made it truly great during those first weeks is our mutual desire to do great together.
Yeah.
I didn't add my usual subscribe call to action to this video because it felt tacky and like it cheapened the subject matter. That said, if you enjoy having broader discussions about the state of the gaming industry, I'm going to try to carve out more time for pieces like this among the news items and gun reviews, because honestly, this is the sort of analysis and discussion that really interests me, and hopefully you too. Thanks to Helldivers 2's tremendous success, this channel is rocketing, and I hope you decide to join us for the trip. Here's to many more years.
They are not.
Oh.
Let's talk about...
All right. Yeah, I mean, good video. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Helldivers is really fun with friends. And if you're trying to push levels or difficulty levels by yourself, you're in for a rude awakening. I would love to see if they actually release the numbers. You know how like some game studios release like an infographic of like all the stats and shit of like, oh, this many Bile Titans destroyed, or how many Chargers charged and killed an enemy, or some shit like that, or how many deaths from mortars, you know, some infographic like that, or like how many people, like how many total players there are, or how many units they sold, how many players like completed a single level 5 mission, how many, or difficulty, how many players completed a Helldive 9 mission, how many solos, how many multiple like full parties completed a Helldive 9 difficulty or whatever. You know, I think those infographics are pretty cool whenever a developer studio finds like random success like that. I think it's cool. Maybe they should do that. But yeah, I mean, all this stuff is like, these are valid concerns for the game, and I don't know, maybe it'll get better. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it does. I mean, I liked playing it, but I mean, it is what it is. It's their game. They can play, they can craft it and make you play however they want you to, essentially, at the end of the day. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, see ya.